Hey everyone, it's Erin with Hail Varsity. I am joined by Greg, also of Hail Varsity, and we are inside a very cold Memorial Stadium because winter has returned in Nebraska. I don't know if anyone is aware, but it was spring for a hot second, and now it is winter again. But that is not why you're here. You are not here for a weather update, unless you are, and then we're happy to provide it. But if you're actually looking for football news, that's what Greg and I are here for. So Greg, we heard from Coach Scott Frost, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Mark Whipple, and then 4 of the quarterbacks. We heard from Thompson, Chubba, Purdy, Heinrich, Haarberg, and Logan Smothers. My brain was...
There were a lot of people today.
We did not hear from Matt Masker or Richard Torres. Pretty standard with Richard Torres being a freshman. They typically don't make them available right off the bat, so don't read anything into that. I am sad we didn't get to talk to Matt Masker, though. Maybe here soon. But that means we have a lot to kind of recap, but we're going to just give you kind of the highlights here, and we'll have plenty more at hailvarsity.com later. Let's start with Frost.
Okay, we'll start with that.
You heard a little bit from him, and it wasn't quarterback related. What did he have to say?
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me about what I heard from Frost is actually about the offensive line. He talked about how he's already noticed in 4 or 5 practices the difference in the line, and the main difference that he noticed was how quickly they're coming off the football. Like I thought that was really interesting to note that right away. And he told a story about how that's what it was like when he played here, and the offensive lines were so aggressive and coming off the ball, and that he would love to see that, and that was not something that was up to his standard previous to now.
Which is interesting because Logan Smothers and Heinrich Haarberg and Chubba Purdy, all 3 of them who were at the station where I was recording, all 3 of them did talk about just the quickness. Now, Logan and Heinrich obviously have a different perspective than both Casey and Chubba do, because for them, everything is new.
Right.
But Logan talked a lot about how things are much quicker. They're getting off the blocks faster. They're trying to throw the ball. I'm so sorry to run the ball person. Logan did confirm they're throwing the ball.
Decent amount of, hey, we're throwing the ball.
Yes,
yeah.
Which means they're working quite a bit on their footwork as far as how to drop back and get themselves, like they're doing. Logan shared a little bit about the different, and we'll have that video here on YouTube, so don't worry, you can go hear this all directly from him, but he talked about the different drills that they've been working on to just improve their footwork. He did talk about how he felt he has gotten his throwing motion in good shape after working with former quarterback coach Mario Verduzco. So for him, the throwing piece is not as prominent. It's definitely about the footwork. So with that said, he talked a little bit about how everything is new-ish in the sense that some terminology is a little bit different, but they're still doing things that you saw in 2021 and before. So it's just, the quickness sounds like a big part of it.
It is. The quickness and just the speed at which that they're operating on offense, and really, like you mentioned, the footwork was a large part of the discussion. Frost did mention that, and so did Mark Whipple, about just when Whipple specifically said about getting the quarterbacks into rhythm, right? Yes. And getting them to just kind of instinctively know how deep they're supposed to drop, where their feet are supposed to be, and just kind of have it flow. I think he also said it needs to be like a dancer, so you need to have a little bit of rhythm out there, which is interesting. That's a good thing to look for in quarterbacks, right?
They definitely do have to have a rhythm, a flow, kind of just a feel for what they're doing. Right. All of the quarterbacks mentioned the wide receivers, how they've really enjoyed working with them. Right. The one thing I will say too is there's a lot of competition in that room, and I know for so many of you, you're going to roll your eyes at hearing the word competition through the spring and potentially beyond, but they all brought it up, that it is a very competitive room. Heinrich Haarberg Heinrich Haarberg, he did talk about how there's just a lot of competition going on right now. And he did say they all are leaders, but they're leaders in different ways. Whereas he might be a little bit more lead by example. Logan has definitely stepped up to be more of a vocal leader. Obviously, we know Thompson stepped in right off the bat, and he wanted to be a leader in that room. And Chubba is doing the same. Now, Chubba's in a little bit of a different situation because he has been limited because he is coming back from an undisclosed injury, not collarbone.
Not the collarbone.
Not the collarbone.
He said very clearly it is not the collarbone.
Not the collarbone.
Yeah.
But he did talk about how he will be available to start practicing once he gets back from spring break. And so Nebraska will be on spring break, not this week, but the week following. So it sounds like about a week and a half timeline for him.
Yeah, and one of the things, though, to note about the competition and the eye rolls on the competition, that's the buzzword, right? Is that, remember, though, it's not just for the starting quarterback spot, right? Like, someone has to be the backup quarterback. And so you do have an entire pecking order that needs to be decided in that quarterback room. And so there's a lot more at stake there than I think we give it credit for sometimes, in only focusing on the starting quarterback position.
Yeah, because I mean, in recent years, even if like the starting role was, solidified, there was still competition for the backup role, or if, the starting role was the one that was up for grabs, you're still then needing to know what it's going to shake out after that starting. This is all, it's all up for grabs at this point. And Logan Smothers, I think a lot of people were kind of wondering, did he feel like transferring after Nebraska brought in 2 other quarterbacks into the room? And the answer is no. He wants to be here. What that means for his future, who knows? But he definitely wants to compete. He talked about how much he loves being here. He came to Nebraska from Alabama for a reason. He wants to compete in this room, and that was really it for him. He kept just reiterating, I want to be here. And I think that took some people by surprise, but at the same time, it also isn't when you kind of think about Logan's recruitment, which we will have more on that.
Yeah, we will. But also, when you just think about him as a guy and the competitor that he is and has shown himself to be, going back to, like you mentioned, his time in high school as well, that's not, to me at least, surprising that he would feel like that. I think it was surprising to people that that was probably the most forceful thing that he said all day, was that I came here for a reason and I want to compete. And that's really the mindset that you want to hear from someone who's in a situation where they're returning and started the last game of the season, and then the team kind of publicly went out and got 2 quarterbacks to come in and compete. That's the mindset you want him to have.
Yeah, and he's already watched the Iowa game, and he said he watched it once, learned from the mistakes, and is moving forward, wants to be better. And it sounds like, again, competition. You're gonna get so tired of that, but
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere on this team right now. And I think when you hear from Mark Whipple, this is what they want. They want them to compete with one another. They want them to learn and grow from one another. It'll be interesting.
Yes.
Like I said, all of the videos from the quarterbacks and both Scott Frost and Mark Whipple will be here on our YouTube channel. So go check them out, because if you want to hear directly from, say, Logan more on footwork, or Chubba more on the non-collarbone injury,
his journey to Nebraska,
or from Casey Thompson, who he ran down a ton of topics.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
And obviously Heinrich Haarberg also talked a little bit about the differences of last year's room versus this year's room, working with Mario Verduzco versus Mark Whipple. So if you want to watch any of those videos, they all are on our YouTube channel. So go ahead, subscribe. We appreciate your support as always. Greg, thank you. We will be back for the recruiting notebook.
That'll be here.
That'll be
here later.
The recruiting question of the week will still be here next week. But just as a reminder, we will not have any post-practice recaps here on YouTube because they will be on spring break. But we will still have plenty of content for you.
We're not going on spring break?
We are not going on spring break. We will be here, so do not worry. It's just Nebraska. We'll be here.
Oh.
No, we aren't going to Hawaii with the beach volleyball team.
Wow, is that an assignment we could?
Right? Why didn't we get sent? Anyway, we appreciate you watching. We're going to go figure out why we're not in Hawaii right now.